DOT staff did not set those parameters with the new House Bill 817, but obviously like any new other legislation, there has to be a cutoff date somewhere, and this is one of those projects that just got caught up in that cutoff date. The cutoff date is any project that was not in our current TIP, which that project is in our current TIP, the C section, but if it's not scheduled to take bids before June the 30th of 2015, statewide, any project, doesn't matter where it is, what route it is, that project has to go through the new process. And so that date was set in legislation, House Bill 817. So I understand where you're coming from, but we had to have some cutoff date, and that's the rules that we're following at DOT. So 401 will be scored like every other project statewide that didn't meet that cutoff date of June 30th of 2015.
When will we know that new scoring?
Well, as I kind of went through the timeline last time I was here 2 or 3 weeks ago, is we're going to get that qualitative score for all the projects that are in the system. Every project that's in there now, plus any new projects that we submit for scoring, we'll have that early next year. We should have it by April of next year, and we'll see what that qualitative score is. Any project that's on the statewide corridor or statewide pot of money, which US 401 is one of those projects, it's 100% data. There is no local input. Remember we talked about the local input score from the divisions and the planning organizations? In the statewide, there is no local score. It's all data. So we'll actually see the total score early next year, and we'll see on a scale of 0 to 100 how that project ranks out. And we'll share that with you all, and be glad to come back and talk more with you all about that. If a project doesn't get funded, once it scores, that's not funding, then DOT has to go through a funding process. We'll also know whether or not that project got scored high enough to get funding, and we'll be able to share that with you. If it doesn't get funded in the statewide pot, we can always consider funding a project that scores well in the regional pot. We talked about the regional pot last time I was here. That's 50% data and 50% local input, where the divisions and the planning organization put their local points for 50% of that score.
How much do you project?
I'm sorry, let me restate myself. It's 70-30 on the regional. I said 50-50. It's 70% data and 30% local input, correct?
That's correct.
The last pot, the division pot, is 50-50. Stand corrected. Yes, sir.
How much do you project it's going to cost to construct Section C of 401?
I don't have it out the top of my head, but I was around 25 million. Joey, does that sound about right?
25 million.
Yeah, we can get that for you. We have an estimate for that already. And once the project goes in our TIP, we have an estimate for that. It's a very, very preliminary estimate, but about 25 million.
Was most of the planning already done on Section C?
Yeah, the planning is done.
Is that advance or whatever you want to call it for the project? Does that figure into the grading system that's coming up?
No, the planning isn't part of the qualitative score.
So theoretically, 401 could lose out, and a project that hasn't had any previous work on it could be rated higher?
It could, yes, sir. And some of the criteria, if you remember when we showed y'all the slide, and Kristen, you don't have to still have that, do you?
No.
Okay. We can come back and talk about that again, but some of the things are congestion, travel time, the cost versus the benefits, safety. As you mentioned, Mr. Dunstan, the safety is a part of that. And each one of them is weighted a different percentage. So we'll see those individual scores and then the total score early next year. Be glad to share that with you.
Do you know